Hello everyone. Today we are going to be covering how to convert back and forth between fractions and percents. But first, let's go over what a percent is and what a percent means. A percent is always out of 100, as you can see on this chart. So, on this chart you can see that 100 is the whole. And if you have a percent, it's going to be part of the whole. So if you think about 50%, that will be here and above, so this shaded section, which as you can see is 1/2. So here you have 50% of 100%. And a percent is really actually a fraction with the denominator being 100. So in this model, you can see that we have 50 out of the 100 shaded. So we have 50%. So what does the word percent mean? Well, if you break this word down into its two parts, you'll find the first part, per, and you'll find the second part, cent. Now the first part, per, means for each, and a cent means, of course, 1 cent. So if you put this all together, you have for each cent. Now, if you see 1 penny equals 1 cent, and that is 1 out of 100 pennies, which equals $1. So $1 is your whole. So you have 1 penny, which equals 1 cent, and 100 cents equals $1, or 1 whole. So for each cent of 100 cents. Now we are going to get into how to convert a fraction to a percent. I will be giving you 2 strategies on how to do this so you can use it on your worksheets. The first strategy would be multiplying a fraction that you're given, so 3/4, times the reciprocal, which would be 100 over 1. Now before we multiply, I want to simplify this so it'll get easier. So we are going to simplify 4 and 100. Now we can divide 100 by 4, so we can make this 1, and we can make this 25. If you think about quarters, it makes it easier. Now when you multiply through, you can get 3 times 25, which is 75, and 1 times 1 equals 1. Now if you look at this, you have 75%. Now let's do it another way. You have 3/4, and you want to figure out what this is going to be in percent. Now this goes back to how a percent is a fraction. So we can find a common denominator of 100. So how do we get from 4 to 100? Now you saw in the previous one we divided, you'd multiply 4 times 25. Now whatever you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top. So we'll multiply 3 times 25, which gives us 75 over 100. And there you can see that we have 75%. Check your answers, and both of these are equal. Let's try both those strategies again with a different fraction. We have 5 over 20. So our first method of multiplying by the reciprocal, which is 100 over 1, and then we can simplify. and you have 2 over 10, divide 2 by 10. So now we end up with 1 and 5. And if you multiply across, we have 5 times 5, which equals 25. And 1 times 1, which equals 1. So we end up with 25%. Now the next strategy, which is finding a common denominator of 100, we get from 20 to 100 by multiplying by 5. Now whatever we do to the bottom, we do to the top. So we have 5 times 5, which equals 25 out of 100, or over 100. So we have 25%. Both our answers match, so we're good to go. Now I'm going to show you how to convert a percent to a fraction. So we are working backwards now. We're going to start with 25%. Now remember, 25% really means 25 out of 100. If you think about it in fraction form. Now this can be simplified. If you think about it in quarters, as we were thinking about in cents earlier, there's 4 quarters in a dollar, and a quarter equals 25%. So we have 1 of those 4 quarters. Now we have 10%. So think about it as a fraction again. 10 out of 100. Now we can simplify here by chopping off those zeros, and you get 1/10. Now let's do something a little bit harder. 65%, and we have to convert this to a fraction. So we have 65 out of 100. Now let's simplify this problem. We can try to divide it by 5 at the top and the bottom. 65 divided by 5 is 13, and 100 divided by 5 is 20. So 65% equals 13 over 20. Let's move on to 32%. 32% is 32 over 100. Now let's simplify this. Let's divide by 2. Here we get 16 over 50. This can be simplified even more. Let's simplify by dividing by 2 again. Here we get 8 over 25. So 32% equals 8 over 25. Now you are ready to convert back and forth fractions and percents.